so this is something you probably saw a little bit last year too. Up at the top there, that's just demonstrating what the distributive property is, using only variables. Sometimes when you're first learning it, especially when you're just now getting into variables, that can look a little more confusing. So I'm going to skip past that and go straight down to where we actually look at some numbers first of all. Alright, so if we were to follow order of operations would tell us to use parentheses first, right? So we would do 2 times 5, or 2 plus 5, and what does that give you? And then 3 times 7, 21. Okay, if we distribute first, that means go ahead and multiply that 3 into every term inside the parentheses. So 3 times 2, 6, 3 times 5, 15, and if we add those together, we get 21, right? Same thing. Okay, so you might wonder, why would we do that if we can just follow order of operations? Well, we're going to get to where we're not always looking at numbers. There might be variables there. That was 3 times x plus 5. It's not like we could add x and 5, right? So we would need to distribute. So that's where that property comes in. Number one mistake that gets made with the distributive property is forgetting to distribute to every term inside the parentheses. This happens a lot, especially once you understand it real well. You start going quick. You'll skip something like to do 3 times 2 and get 6, but forget to multiply the 3 times 5. So just make sure you're multiplying by everything inside the parentheses. So down at the bottom, we use that distributive property. What would 4 times x be? 4x, and then 4 times 3, 12. And you bring down that plus sign between them. And we are done right there. There's nothing else we can simplify with that because we cannot add 4x and 12. Those aren't like terms, which we'll get to on the next side. So if we move over here, you got 8 times y, which will give you what? 8y. Bring down the plus sign, and then 8 times 2. Okay, down to the next one, and it does not matter which side that term is on the outside. It could be in the front, it could be in the back. The only reason there's a second sign of parentheses there is, what would that look like if there wasn't parentheses? If I rewrote that over here without the parentheses, now what does that tell me to do? That looks like minus 8, right? So the parentheses are just there to show you that we're multiplying. So you still multiply that in. So you got negative 8 times p, negative 8p, and then negative 8 times negative 3. Put that sign in front of it with it. So negative times a negative gives you a what? Right. And 8 times 3, 24. Okay, if you were to want to just bring down that negative, some people do it this way. They bring down the negative, and then they do negative 8 times 3 and get negative 24. But what does minus a negative still turn into? Positive. So it actually saves you a step if you just put that sign in front of it with that number. Consider that a negative 3 when you're multiplying, because you're going to end up getting the same thing. All right, over to the right there. 2 times 2r. 4r. 2 times negative 3. Negative 6. So we got 4r minus 6. All right, last two, this is the distributive property with division. So just like multiplication was, we had to multiply the term times everything inside the parentheses. Just make sure you divide each one of these in the numerator by what's in the denominator. You're distributing this denominator to each one of those. So 6x divided by 2. I'm going to write it out on this first one, and then we won't do it on the next one. So what would 6x divided by 2 be? 3x. And then 14 divided by 2. 7, right. So that's using the distributive property with division. You don't see it as much typically in what we're going to be looking at, but that's using it with division. So same thing here. 12y divided by negative 4. What would that give me? Negative 3y, right? 12 divided by negative 4 gives you the negative 3, and then we got the y there. And negative 8 divided by negative 4. Positive 2. Negative divided by negative gives us a positive. We got that. All right, so a couple over here on the right side to practice, then we'll look at combining like terms. Let's see, there's one I want for sure for you to look at. Do 1 through 5. After 5, stop, and when we go over it, there's a few more down there I want to show you that were slightly different than any of those examples we had.